Welcome back to Joe Stunner Boxing. So, if you think back to before the 5 versus 5, Filip Hrgović was the mandatory contender for the IBF, took on Daniel Dubois at the weekend for the interim IBF title, and of course lost, got smashed to bits. And so in steps Mr. Dubois, and he's now the IBF interim title. That goes well with his, WBA regular title that he had a couple of years ago. But this is an interesting development because now with a Brit holding that title, what's the logical thing to do? The guy's flying. He's beaten 2 previously undefeated fighters, Big Baby Miller, and now Hrgović, very, very highly thought of internationally. What's the logical thing to do? Put him with another Brit at Wembley Stadium, Anthony Joshua. So this has been earmarked for September the 21st. Okay. December the 21st is supposedly Fury versus Usyk Part 2. Who's going to complain about that? Certainly not me. September the 21st, Joshua versus Dubois, an all-British heavyweight affair at Wembley Stadium. I mean, when you think about it, with all these fights, these big cards we've got flying around, slapping us in the face, we've died and gotten to heaven. Let's be honest here. I mean, what a great event that's going to be. And of course, we're talking about our friend, the excellent Turkey, getting involved. Turkey Alashake is probably going to throw money at this one. There'll be a big undercard. Joshua Matchroom, Queensbury Dubois. So put them together. What do? You get that cross-pollination on the undercard of, who knows, maybe another 5 versus 5. Would you object to that? Not me. Oh, no. Like I say, died and gone to heaven. And I've said it. I know I've said this before many times, but being of a certain age means I remember the days where there were 2 channels, BBC and ITV, no internet, certainly no internet, no satellite telly, no nothing. You had to grab your boxing whenever you could. And, when VHS tapes became a thing, you could order them maybe 2 or 3 weeks after the fight. You could watch it and grainy 3rd generation analog video, none of that now. Now it's all bang, 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 bang. It's like you're being jabbed in the face constantly by all these brilliant fights. It's a brilliant time for boxing. Absolutely brilliant time for boxing. And Joshua versus Dubois, I mean, I'm not going to make a prediction video now, but, Frank has confirmed talks are underway. They're going to have to negotiate the money and so on and so forth. Because let's not forget, Dubois holds the IBF interim belt, not Joshua. Joshua doesn't have a belt. But, of course, Joshua is a massive, massive cash cow. So I'm sure they can work it out where they all get a fair slice of the pie. I would imagine it'll be a pay-per-view. They'll stack the undercard. Wembley Stadium, a sellout. Probably sell it out twice, I'd imagine, if you stack the undercard. And also, it should be mentioned, actually, also that Dubois, now that he's got that interim belt, is actually the mandatory challenger for Usyk. Now, Usyk has applied. I mean, obviously they fought before, but somehow, Dubois finds himself as the mandatory challenger again. You can't argue. He's beaten the guy who, was the number 1 contender. Usyk has applied to hold on to the belt so that when he faces Fury in the rematch, all 4 belts are still on the line. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, I think it's good that the interim belt was made available. I don't really approve of secondary belts, but I get the logic of it. We'll cement the guy who is in first in the pecking order. However, regardless of whether it's Usyk or Fury who wins the rematch, the winner absolutely should be obliged to fight the winner of Joshua and Dubois. And if they refuse to, I believe that stripping them would be a fair thing. Because you can only go in for so long. Otherwise, the belt gets held to ransom. You get a situation where you've got a mandatory contender waiting for 2 years or more. Sometimes it's been even more. I don't think that's fair. If you have a system, okay, you can be sensible about it. You can say, okay, there's a rematch of an undisputed fight coming up. It's a brilliant first event. Okay, you can keep your belt for now. Yeah, but that's it. That's your lot. That's the cut-off point. That's the tipping point. After that, we want our mandatory contender to fight for that belt. Okay, it's kind of like, you look at the J.R. Pataya situation where he got stripped of the IBF belt. Ridiculous situation, and then he ended up fighting for the vacant belt against the guy who was his mandatory contender, who he got stripped from because he wasn't prepared to face him when the IBF said, you've got to use a bit of common sense about these things. You can't be draconian about it. But at the same time, you need, and again, as with most things in life, it's a nice little balance. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to this. But let's talk about just briefly about the idea of Joshua facing Dubois, because Joshua's now 34, so he's not old for heavyweight, but he's not particularly young either. Dubois, as we know, is 8 years younger, 26. He is young for heavyweight. 26 is very young for heavyweight. He's coming off 2 fantastic victories. Consider this, that less than a year ago, when he was getting knocked out by a jab by Usyk and branded a quitter yet again, he looked like a complete also-ran, But Warren has proved with Dubois, if you stay loyal to me, I'll get you opportunities. And, of course, loyalty in boxing is a very tenuous thing. We're back to Mickey Duff's old line, if you want loyalty, buy a dog. But you have to credit Warren for sticking with Dubois. The opportunity came up. He gave him other opportunities that weren't easy ones. Big baby Miller, big fat lump that he is, 333 pounds. He could have steamrolled Daniel if Daniel wasn't on it. But Daniel showed a bit of gumption. And then against Hrgović, an absolute shootout. Showed a really good jaw. Took some hellacious right hands, 4 or 5 big, full-blooded right hands from Hrgović. Survived it. Well, didn't survive it. He actually came on strong, more than survived it. So Dubois is definitely on form and his confidence is soaring. Joshua has won 4 fights since losing twice to Usyk. Losing twice to Usyk on points, as I said at the time, not a major tragedy, because Usyk is a fantastic, incredible talent, a generational talent, as they now say. That 24 rounds probably made him a better fighter. He probably learned a lot of stuff. He can look back watch those fights, and it hurts to watch yourself getting beaten up and beaten. But you can say, okay, I see what he's doing there. Okay, I'm learning this. I'm learning that. Just as the 2 defeats that Dubois suffered, he turned them into positives by learning from them. Joshua, 4 fights down the line now, 4 decent wins. I know Ngannou's an MMA fighter and all the rest of it, so it's you can make of that what you will. But nevertheless, he's rebuilt. He's learned from the 24 rounds with Usyk. How can you not? So you've got 2 guys who have had downs in their career, bad downs, been stopped, been lost. In the case of Joshua, 2-time world champ, unified champ, lost his belts. Dubois, branded a quitter. 2 guys who now are getting to the point where the confidence is up again, and they've really got it all to lose. And I don't see this, I'm not going to make a prediction at the moment, but I don't see this as being an easy fight for Joshua at all. Not with Dubois, who's shown a good jaw, a lot of determination, showed a very good gas tank as well against Big Baby Miller. I do think he looks a little bit muscle-bound, Dubois. He's such a big lad, but they used to say the same about Joshua, didn't they? And also, I know Joshua got the Ngannou fight done and dusted pretty quick, but in terms of activity, you have to give it to Dubois against good opposition too. Activity-wise, Dubois has been in the mix, whereas Joshua, and he's at the stage now at 34 where he probably doesn't need to fight as regularly as he did when you're on the up and coming. Momentum, it means a lot. When you get a little bit older, slowing down, and now that you've got the experience and you're not looking for it, that means you can maybe be a little bit more picky about who you fight and when you fight and so on. But I do think that this is a terrific fight. I really do, and I'm looking forward to this one as well. There's so many fights to look forward to. It's ridiculous, really. But yeah, what do you think? What do you think about this fight? Are you looking forward to it? Who do you think will win? What's your first impressions? I'm not going to do a prediction video yet. What about the undercard? Who do you think they'll put on the undercard? It's got to be another Matchroom versus Queensbury sort of thing. They'll mix and match, I bet you. All right, thanks a lot for watching the video. If you liked it and you could hit the like button, that would be a great help to us. And also, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Takes you a second, cost you nothing, and it's always appreciated. Looking forward to reading what you got to say, and I'll catch you later. Bye for now.